Welcome to Conversations. I'm your host, Muqtadar Khan, and today I'm going to talk to you about the escalating war between the US and China on the issue of tariffs. Donald Trump has today announced that he's going to increase tariffs on China by 100% by the 1st of November, on the day on which he was supposed to meet, the day on which he was supposed to meet with, uh, uh, with Xi Jinping in South Korea. That on that very day, he is expecting to add 100% tariffs. Already, the range of tariffs on China are from 3% or 4% to 50% on an average, close to 40% tariffs already on China. This will bring it to 140%. All of this from Donald Trump today. And this is very critical because we are just about 20 days away from that deadline. And what could not have been negotiated from June onwards until now, that there was a kind of a ceasefire between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping on the issue of tariffs while the two parties negotiated the deal. And they have failed to come to an agreement. And so Donald Trump today posted this on his social on Truth Social, in which he says it has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some even made by others, that really involves essentially rare earth materials, magnets, etc. So what China is trying to do is consolidate its control. It has about 90% control on the processing of rare earth minerals and about 60% control on the mining of those things worldwide. So what China is basically is trying to do is to consolidate its monopoly on that. It wants it, it has the letter that it sent out is to all the countries. India too got that letter, I think, on October 8th. And the US also got it, I think, on October 8th. And so that was just 2 days ago. What the letter essentially says is that even those Chinese who are trying to mine these things illegally will have to answer to the government. All foreign entities which are exporting rare any product, it could be a microwave which is using one of those rare earth mineral magnets, will have to get an approval from the Chinese government. So if say, for example, if Apple is manufacturing something inside China and trying to export that, and it has rare earth minerals, some component, some magnet, it has to take permission from China. So it's like a very difficult trade control, a non-tariff control. And so things seem to have gone really bad with China in the last couple of months. We thought that Donald Trump is so focused and so respectful to China and always praising Xi Jinping that something might come out of this. But I guess he has been so distracted with trying to win a Nobel Prize for himself and basically, cleaning up after Netanyahu and basically acting as the butler for Israel all these months, that he's taken his eye off the ball and not paid attention to the biggest challenge that the United States faces, which is China's growing economic clout. Of all the countries that Donald Trump has threatened with tariffs, it is only China which has responded with equal measure. Even Canadians and Mexicans, who initially were retaliating with their own tariffs, have backed off. India has absolutely done nothing in retaliation against the US in economic terms. What it has done is it's trying to adjust. In fact, there are lots of signals coming both from the Indian government as well as from the US government that India is probably moving away from buying Russian oil and is going to be buying more of US oil in order to escape the 25% surcharge secondary tariffs that US has imposed. So nobody other than China has pushed back in equal measure, I must say. China has created a lot of problems for the US. For example, that about 33% of US soybean production was bought by China last year. And in fact, before 2017, I think most of the soya bean production by US farmers was exported to China. And when Donald Trump started the first trade war, China retaliated by uh, essentially finding another alternative, which is Brazil, encouraging Brazil to grow soybeans and buying from Brazil and also from Argentina. Ironically, the US is trying to save the Argentinian economy while Argentina continues to sell soybeans now to China at the expense of the US and actually beating the US on price. So the fact that China has bought $0 worth of soybeans until now, when it should have bought anywhere between 10 to 20 billion dollars worth of it, is going to completely undermine U.S. farmers. And because of the closing down of the U.S. federal government, Donald Trump is not even able to uh, create some kind of a subsidy for the U.S. farmers. He's going to say, "Look, I have made billions of dollars on tariffs. I'm going to give some of it to the farmers and save their basically farms. Otherwise, they will lose their mortgages on their farms because their crops are going to fail." So this year, the Trump administration might be able to save them. They're trying to find alternative ways. But China has launched a counterattack in terms of trade, which is perplexing as to why China would do that now when it could have continued and negotiated with the US and got a good deal on 1st November or by November. But apparently, China is interested, is confident that its diversification in other markets has been far more successful. Its control on massive production capacity and exports to other countries is far more, shall we say, firmer in the Chinese eyes, that they are willing to have this fight with the US. Or maybe in their assessment, they think that they can force Donald Trump to back off because of this critical. While there is perception that the United States will find alternative within 6 months to this rare earth minerals, after all, China controls only 60% of that which is mined. So there is 40% out there. Apparently, Argentina is a good source for uranium and other rare earth materials. There's all these negotiations that are going on with Pakistan, Canada, Greenland. The United States itself has domestic sources. There was some talk about optimism that the US itself could become an alternative source of providing rare earth materials. There are joint projects with discussions going on, even with India, for example, that they are thinking of finding alternatives. So it may take the US about 6 months to 1 year to essentially get around it. But what is interesting is that China had loosened the controls it had imposed, I think, in April on rare earth materials, in June on the US, without any reduction in tariffs by the US, actually. So the question is, what is going on? Some analysts feel that this is a long-term strategy. It was something China was planning all along, and it would have happened even if Donald Trump had not started his own trade war and his own efforts to de-link with the Chinese economy, to marginalize the Chinese economy, to block China's growth, etc. So there is all this talk going on. I think that is an attempt to exonerate Donald Trump from the responsibility of triggering a crisis. So, for example, the stock market today in the US lost $1.2 trillion. Tesla has gone down by 3%. Nvidia has gone down. So there is a big shock today. There seems to be some kind of a market adjustment taking place. But what China has done is not just to the US. A lot of people are thinking that this is just a trade war between US and China. No, what China has done is basically attack the whole world. China has also imposed special rules on India, for example. China has basically reduced all the supply of important magnets, hurting India's EV industry, semiconductor industry, etc., and delaying supply chains by 3 months, and could even impact the GDP growth, annual GDP growth, by 0.1 to 0.3%. And there are some additional conditions that China is imposing on India. And the condition that China is imposing is that India does not buy magnets from China and then re-export it to the US. And the Chinese have understood that Indians love to do these kind of things. That if China is imposing some kind of having a trade war with the US or some Western countries, India should not undermine that by buying in bulk from China and then selling it to these European countries at a profit. So that is an additional condition that China has posed on India, and I think that's very smart. India, is, of course, there's a lot of talk that we have great rare earth materials in Andhra Pradesh, or we're going to go and find them in Australia. But there's a lot of talk, too much talk from India's side, often very little action. Like if you saw with Keir Starmer's visit, he came with 100 CEOs, 100 company CEOs, and the total investment package on both sides combined is just 1.3 billion. Uh, and TSA Motors, I think, the Luna, the company that used to make Luna, the South, it's going to invest in something in EV in UK. Somebody from Bollywood is going to make 3 movies in UK. Some 9 universities are coming to India, and India is going to buy 350 million pounds worth of missiles. That's it. From UK. This is the 6th biggest economy and the 4th biggest economy. So there's a lot of hype and talk, big words, connectivity, and all of that. But in real terms, there's very little action. The real action seems to be where China and the US are on these trade deals. So we will see how India will respond. Donald Trump has, so far, nobody in the world has responded to China's threat on this. China is not threatening, China is tightening controls on the supply of rare earth minerals and magnets. That's what China is doing. It wants to consolidate its control on the mining, on the processing, and the supply, and even on how it is used in manufacturing. Uh, I don't know what is it that Chinese think they know and the rest of the world does not know. And we will see what happens in the forthcoming months, whether other powers in the world are able to find alternative means of dealing with Chinese, or they can bully China. I was listening to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and the way he was talking was like that we're going to force China to change its economic structure. They want to force China to change the way its economy is structured, to force China to stop manufacturing so much, force China to remove all of this. Donald Trump, in his long Truth Social post, basically calls this evil. and But one must remember that Donald Trump is exactly doing what he's accusing China of doing, which is imposing and bullying the rest of the world on economic terms and using the advantage of the US market, which drives the growth of many countries and economies like Japan, Germany, India, and other countries whose companies depend on exports to the US, and US is taking advantage of that situation, and China is also responding by. So one of the things that the Americans have realized is that it's not just about the trade war. This is China trying to basically take over from the US. So there's a geopolitical dimension to what China is trying to do, and that is something that is concerning the Americans a lot. That look, I mean, we can have a short-term agreement with China. We can reduce the tariffs on this. We can deal with the soybean problem by providing subsidy to the farmers. And I think last time Donald Trump had provided $28 billion of subsidy in, I think, around 2020. So providing $30 billion of subsidy now is not a big deal for the US. But So a short-term arrangement could be made where American high-tech industries do not get uh, affected by it. There's also a low-level trade war going on. The United States, for example, imposed some kind of harbor fee for all goods that are coming in from China. So I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to make money for the government. So they are charging some kind of a docking fees of ships which are coming in from China, and China has now retaliated by doing the same for the U.S. China is also ensuring that nobody smuggles NVIDIA chips into China. That is another interesting thing that China is doing. China is trying to make sure that the U.S. does not dominate the AI field, the artificial intelligence field, through NVIDIA. So, for example, for many decades, the US dominated the computer scene because Intel was the dominant thing. All the parameters of and the way the world designed computers, etc., was basically based on the hardware and software that the US was generating. So, if you want to make a new computer, you would want it to be able to handle Microsoft Word, for example, and you would want to be able to use chips manufactured by Intel and other Amtel or whatever the other uh, electronic circuitry companies are. So the US was controlling this, and China is trying to ensure that by limiting Chinese companies from having access to NVIDIA chips, they are creating a market for alternative AI chips at home so that the Chinese AI industry does not depend in any way on the hardware that is designed in the US. One of the things that Donald Trump has announced is that he's going to also uh, control or put limits on critical software that is being exported to China. I don't know what that critical software is. So there's no list provided. None of the reporters asked him what this critical software is, which China, there was a lot of this talk about how under Joe Biden as to how there will be a ban on American chip manufacturers sending sophisticated and advanced semiconductors and chips to China. In fact, they had created a three-tier system where about 18 countries were free to buy whatever they wanted from the US. Then there were some countries that could not buy anything, such as Iran, Russia, China, North Korea. And then there was a third category where India was there, that you could get some chips from the US, but you had to get some kind of a license from the State Department and an approval from the US government to be able to buy this stuff. But that had all changed. Donald Trump, when he became president, he allowed NVIDIA to export to China. It was China which said, no, we don't want NVIDIA chips. So things are not a bit clear. See, we hear a lot from the Americans, at least because I live here. I hear Donald Trump talk about it every day. I hear Scott Bessent, and we are hearing Howard Lutnick, and all of these people talk about a lot of things. We don't get to hear much about what the Chinese are saying and what the Chinese are thinking. Very rarely do we see on American television voices from China, and to get a sense of what the Chinese strategic thinking is about all of this. Are Chinese feeling confident that they are in a position where they can not only push back against the US, but overturn the US and US economic hegemony in the world, especially in advanced scientific endeavors? So that is a question. And for some of us who are sitting here and analyzing here from the US, there is a black box that we need to unlock as to what the Chinese thinking is. Yes, we can get some by reading some of the Global Times and the newspaper that comes from Hong Kong. But other than that, there are not many direct sources from which to get as to what China is thinking and what is coming next. So this is a serious development, and India is going to be caught up in it because just as America is putting pressure on India not to buy Russian oil, China is putting pressure on India not to buy and sell rare earth materials and magnets to America. And I won't be surprised if India actually tries to do this and suck up to Israel and try to sell it to Israelis, and then the Israelis sell it to America. So these kind of things are going to happen. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on India from both sides. And as you have seen, India just talk. India's response is Dr. Jaishankar saying stupid things all over the world, but there's no action. in terms of action, India is now sitting down with radical Islam. So these photographs of radical Hindus and radical Muslims getting together, that is India's response to America. Oh, we now have friends with the Taliban. That is India's response to America. There's no trade response that is hurting U.S. economy, unlike China, which has imposed tariffs, has imposed restrictions, has completely put pressure on U.S. agriculture. No other country has been successful in pressuring Donald Trump to run to say what Donald Trump is now going to face as soon as the government is restored is how to save American farmers from the revenge of China. No other country has been able to do that. So we will see how things go. And while we are watching this struggle between US and China for economic domination, don't forget that India is also caught up in the middle, and directly so when it comes to rare earth minerals, etc., since India is also trying to open up its EV market and improve and invest in EV manufacturing in India. So we will see. I think that the EV business in the US for electric vehicles is dead. Is dead. If China stops selling magnets to the US, Tesla already lost 3% today, and so there will be no new companies willing to invest in EVs, and the established firms which are outside the US may not come in and invest. So we will see what is going to happen going forward. But this is a major development, and some people are saying that Donald Trump's threats to impose 100% tariffs, etc., to which China has not yet responded. It's quite possible tomorrow Xi Jinping will say, "Okay, we're going to impose tariffs on China, on U.S. goods too." But so far, China has not responded, and it is quite possible that there might be some agreement and some compromise before 1st of November. So as of now, this is just a threat from Donald Trump that I'm going to impose 100% tariffs over and above what he's already doing. So it will go up to 140, 150% on all Chinese goods coming to America. And we will see what happens. A lot of stuff that comes from China, we can do without that. But there are some very critical issues. All appliances will become expensive, and so on. So we will see how that impacts America's. So, for example, if the sheer volume of goods coming in into American harbors uh, reduces, then Americans will lose jobs who work on American shipyards, all on those who work in the harbors and ports. All those people will lose their jobs if there is no ships to empty, ships to load. So there is another of that, truck drivers who bring in goods. So lots of stuff coming from China to Walmart. They are being unloaded in Seattle, unloaded in Los Angeles, then driven all across the country to the East Coast by truckers on highways. All those truck industries will suffer. So there's going to be a kind of impact that will roll on, cascading impact on various other kinds of industries in the US too. And so it's going to hurt both China and the US, and similarly on the rest of the global economy. So we will see. This is a dangerous development, no doubt. So 1st November has become very serious. There's a pretty good chance that Modi could meet with Donald Trump for the APEC, Asia Pacific, ASEAN summit in Malaysia at the end of this month. And I don't know where Modi will not go to South Korea for APEC, where Xi Jinping and Donald Trump are scheduled to meet. But Donald Trump has kind of threatened that, well, what's the point of this meeting? So we will see what happens, whether that meeting happens or does not happen. We'll see. So anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. I'll now see if there are some interesting questions or comments from people, and I'll be happy to answer them. Will China pop the AI bubble? That's a very good question by Ayush Baldoria. There's this perception that Americans are betting heavily on AI because America is leading right now with domination. If you look at anthropomorphic, whatever Claude is, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, a lot of the AI companies which are doing well, Meta, Amazon, all of these are all American companies. So right now, in terms of AI, the US is leading, but the fear is that the US is betting heavily on AI. So until today, the US stock market was at its highest because of investments in AI. And now, if with this blocking of magnets, what Ayush is asking is, will this bust the stock market bubble of AI companies? Quite possible. Like I said, today Nvidia went down by 3 to 4%. So did Tesla. So there's a big drop across the board on Nasdaq, on Dow Jones, etc. So the U.S. has taken a big hit of 1.2 billion, oh sorry, 1.2 trillion dollars. As big as Saudi Arabia's economy, that much wealth was lost today on the U.S. stock market. So there's a question here from Food Logger. Good evening, sir. I recently read an article. Telegraph America Congress are not happy with Trump with the relationship with India. Even many Republican leaders meeting with Marco Rubio. Uh, I don't know about this. Yes, India is spending a lot of money now, giving to some Congress people and trying to lobby them, and some rich Indian Americans are also lobbying the Congress a bit more aggressively. But the Congress, the US Republicans are useless in the Congress. They will do whatever Trump wants to do. They dare not, otherwise he will primary them. And there are many things that Trump is doing which the Republicans don't like. The Republicans don't like all these tariff issues that he's done, etc. And eventually, if you listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, she does not like the fact that US is bailing out Argentina's economy, spending so much money in Israel, continuing to provide some kind of indirect and direct support to the war in Ukraine. So yes, the Republicans are not very happy with many things Donald Trump is doing. And they are very worried, especially on freedom of speech issues, going after media, especially what he tried to do with Jimmy Kimmel. But they are afraid to stand up to him because he continues to enjoy very high popularity among Republicans. Nearly 90% of all Republicans approve him. Even overall, nationally, Donald Trump's approval ratings are very low now. The disapproval and approval ratings, the difference is about 14-15%. But among the Republicans, he is king. So yes, the Republicans are not going to do anything. Marco Rubio's own personal policies were so different from what he's doing right now. So I'm not going to bet on that. Well, I don't know. Pawandeep Singh says Trump is good for U.S. economy. We will see. Oh, so there are some very trashy people here. Let me just permanently ban them. Okay. Bhupesh Agarwal asks about Trump's Nobel Prize. I'm not very happy with the person who got the Nobel Prize, Maria Mercado, a Colombian opposition leader. She's not exactly. What has she done? She's just an opposition leader in a small country in South America. There are lots of opposition leaders in many parts of the world who have done more. Rahul Gandhi is standing up to Modi in India. He's definitely done more than Maria Mercado. So what has she done that she deserves a Nobel Prize for Peace internationally? No one heard of her until she got the award. So I'm not very thrilled with her getting it. Donald Trump has done some things, and I think that if the Gaza ceasefire holds, and we move from phase one, even if the phase one is completed, we move to phase two. And if 6 months from now there is still peace, then Donald Trump should get the Nobel Prize for Peace in 2026. He has done what Joe Biden could not do and would not do, which is pressure Israel into a ceasefire, and Donald Trump has done that. So he's done more to bring about peace in the Middle East than anybody else. I'm a big critic of Donald Trump, but on this, hats off to him. And yes, he has not succeeded in ending the war in Russia and Ukraine, but who has? Who else is trying? Nobody else. Vishwaguru, is he doing anything? He's busy with the Taliban. That is his level now. He's come down to his level. which is the Taliban. That is Modi's level. Uh, now the Taliban are going around the country, 6-day tour. Muttaqi is going to Deoband, to Yoginder Yogi's Adityanath Yogi's estate. He's going to be a national, I guess, prestigious visitor to Adityanath Yogi's. The radical Hindu and radical Muslim will get together there, I guess. So no one else is trying to end these wars that Donald Trump has attempted at. And today, again, he said that he ended the war between India and Pakistan. He forced these two countries to have a ceasefire. He said 7 planes were lost on that one day. And he says, I threatened them with 100% tariffs and they stopped fighting. And Pakistanis corroborate what he's saying, and India is unwilling to acknowledge that. So, so at least even if you discount the India-US thing, I think what he's done in Gaza, ending this genocide, bringing in aid to the Palestinian, that is more than what anybody else has done. What has Modi done? He sold weapons to Israel. What has Canada done? Sold weapons to Israel. What has Germany done? Sold weapons to Israel. What has Great Britain done? Sold weapons to Israel. Who has done anything? What has Japan done? Nothing. What has Russia done? Nothing. What has China done? Nothing. So who is doing anything on the global level? Donald Trump. So whether if he's successful, he deserves it. If he's not, he doesn't. Oh, this is an interesting question. From such times, what advice for students who want to come to study in USA in upcoming year? It's a risk. There is no doubt about it. It's a risk. If you're getting full funding, if you're coming for a graduate program, say if you're coming for a master's program in sciences, and you have scholarship, I would say come, especially if you get the visa. So even if you come here for 1 year and you study and then something, God forbid, happens and you're forced to leave, then you've at least got a 1 year exposure to American laboratories, American professors. You have made connections here, and so you'll be better off, definitely. Even if you had to leave midway, you could maybe finish your degree by doing some online work with universities. They may accommodate you and you get your master's. Coming for PhD, and I would not recommend coming to the US right now without funding. Taking big loans in India, coming here, especially for undergraduate. You're coming for a 4-year degree, and if you get kicked out after 2 years, and then you have a big loan that you're going to be stuck with no degree. So I would not recommend undergraduates coming here if you're funded by American universities. If you have a scholarship, and if your families are very, very rich, then that's a different issue. Then, well, it's like a vacation for you. So come to America, enjoy the life here, and also enjoy the experience. American university experience is fantastic, no doubt about it. If you can afford it, you're not going to go into a debt, then yes, take a chance. Otherwise, if you don't get into the top universities, the top 30 American universities, then go to UK, go to Australia, go to Canada, go to Germany if you can learn German quickly. Go to Singapore. NUS, the National University of Singapore, is fantastic university. The university in Hong Kong is also pretty good. So there are some other interesting options where there are no risks of you not completing. So that's my recommendation. Come to the US if you're coming to a top university and the university is funding you. But don't risk taking loans and coming to America, because the American dream is finished now. Even if you finish your degree here, you're getting a job is going to be very difficult. Rubio has made it very difficult to even get OPT training after here, and then getting an H-1B, and then from H-1B to green card to citizenship. There, people are saying it's more than 40 to 100 years. So this idea of coming for education like I did and become an American citizen, that door has more or less been fully nearly shut, unless you're doing something really cutting edge. You have found some alternative ways to deal with rare earth minerals and magnets. Yeah, they will bring you on national security visas, and those are a few rare people who are going to benefit from that. Any other interesting questions? So Mr. Modi is here. Welcome, Mr. Modi. Modi, the world's two greatest democracies of the world come together. Afghanistan and India become partners. I find that so bizarre. It is so stupid. India talks about women's liberation and Beti Bachao and this and that. We are mother of democracy. We are ethos. I mean, look at all the rubbish Modi was saying while standing with Keir Starmer about democracy and stuff. So where did all that go when you're hanging out with the Afghans? India has more or less recognized Afghan Taliban now. They are upgrading the embassy to the fullest level there. So yeah, Russians have done it, but I think this is not an exemplary behavior. There's not some pressing strategic interests that India has with the Taliban. So I don't understand. I mean, I understand why I don't approve, and I think it's terrible. That tells you that Indian foreign policy under Prime Minister Modi has no connection to values. That's the point. Thali ka baigan, wherever the plate is bent, the baigan will go there. It's like that. America pushes Modi away, he runs to China. And now to Afghanistan. It's terrible. Such, you have many questions. I think I've answered. Vivido, you liked it. Good job. Who says Afghanistan is a democracy? It's the worst place. It's the worst example of theocratic governance. I mean, women have no rights in that country. They can't even read books written by women. He's so idiotic, this Taliban. The second most important book for Sunni Muslims is Sahih Bukhari. And this is a collection of the prophetic hadiths. And there are about 4,400 hadiths in that which are considered as authentic. The total Sahih Bukhari, I think, has 7,000 hadiths. So in those 7,000 hadiths, nearly 1,500 of them. So one of the volumes of those 8 or 9 volumes that you see come from statements made by the Prophet's wife, peace be upon him, Aisha. So now the Taliban are not going to read the hadiths which have been coming from the Prophet's wives. I don't know what kind of stupid people they are. Women not being educated, so their mothers are going to be uneducated. It's awful, awful. My wife is, alhamdulillah, highly educated. She has 3 masters, and she has done nearly finished her PhD. So it was such a blessing. So when the kids used to be with her or with me, we were constantly reading books to them. We were talking to them. We were explaining things to them, historically, scientifically, etc. So everybody in the house is like a Wikipedia for the children, even for little kids, telling them the names of birds, telling them names of trees, telling them names of things. So yeah, having an educated mother is a stunning blessing for any child growing up anywhere in the world. And the next generation of the Taliban in Afghanistan are going to be the most ignorant Jahil people in the whole world, because their mothers would have stopped going to school after 6th grade. And we are supporting that regime. Just disgusted with it. No Muslim country has recognized Afghanistan, but Modi has. Oh, this is a very good question from Kamal. I think China caught everybody by surprise, even though, we have a professor at the University of Delaware who talks a lot about rare earth minerals. So I do a program for the State Department in the summers, and he's been speaking, in my program every year for the past 5-6 years. And it's always about geopolitics of rare earth minerals, and he's been talking about it for 5, 6, 7 years, and he's an advisor to the UN on gems and rare earth materials. So there were people in America who knew what China was doing and who recognized the importance of this. But the fact that the Biden government, and prior to that Trump administration in the first term, did not do what was necessary to ensure that this strategic side of the economy should be taken care of. So I think they've been completely surprised by China because China is dominating in so many other areas. Like China is number one in EV manufacturing, EV market. There are more EV cars in China than anywhere else in the world. So there are lots of things that China is doing. So you're like saying, okay, yeah, they're beating us on this, they're beating us on fast trains, they're beating us on infrastructure. The people have got used to China dominating in many other fields, except Indians, of course. The last 3, 4 years, people are attacking me for not being critical of the Chinese economy. Oh, China's economy, you should go back and listen to all these heroes of Modi Godi media in 2020. And China's economy is finished, it's collapsed, their real estate market has gone. Tomorrow, China will not exist, India will dominate, blah, 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 blah. China is 5 times bigger than India. 5 times. One India, two India, three India, four India, five India. That is China today. So all that rubbish that we had hearing from these right-wing media there and here also, very prominent scholars from Columbia University, etc., have been saying, "Oh, China is going to be stuck in the middle income trap. Middle income trap." What middle income trap are they talking about? China has kept the value of its currency low. If you if you increase the value of yuan, RMB, the Chinese currency, to what it ought to be, then the GDP of China will go from 20 to 26, 27 and be very close to the US. So people uh, have been surprised because they have looked down upon China and they underestimated China, I think, and they got stuck on this. Look, we are talking about China 2.0, which is post COVID. All this in the manufacturing capacity boom that China has generated is after COVID. Uh, well, MacArthur, it is already happening. AK is here. Hello, AK. Good morning to you. Uh, I don't understand this AK myself. The rug is pulling out from crypto. I think this is some kind of a manipulation of the crypto market. And I'm sorry, I really don't understand what that is. I stay away from the crypto business because I sense there's something fraud about it. Yes, there are people I know who have made a lot of money on Bitcoin, and uh, there were people who bought Bitcoin at $100. Now it's what, God knows, $100,000. So there's been 1,000 times growth. So imagine if I had invested $1,000, then it would have been $100,000 now, or even more. So, so yes, some people have made a lot of money in the crypto business, but I think that money could just go like that. Oh, Ahmed Jamal, what is common between Hindu nationalism and what? What do you want me to compare Hindu nationalism with? It's like any other religious nationalism. Looks down upon citizens of other religion, is the same as Islamism, the same as Jewish nationalism. It's created an apartheid state in Israel. And the same as Christian nationalism in the US. They are trying to ensure that non-Christians don't have the same rights. And they're worried about, uh, like, for example, Amit Shah's speech about the growing Muslim population is designed to eliminate Muslims as voters in India. So yes, religious nationalisms are not pluralistic, they're undemocratic. And in India, it's going to be very interesting because Hindu nationalism will also be terrible for most Hindus who do not belong to the upper castes. So caste system will be re-implemented. So at least you could say Islamic nationalism is good for Muslims and non-Muslims will suffer. And the same with Christian and Jewish nationalism. All Jews will benefit from Jewish nationalism and non-Jews would suffer. But from Hindu nationalism, many Hindus will also suffer because of the caste system inherent in the religion, which could be imposed through if democracy and secularism is removed. But all religious nationalisms are a threat to democracy, to secularism, and equality of all people in spite of their faith. Uh, Yes, Trump's Nobel Prize for this year is shattered, definitely. But he could get it next year. I think that if the Gaza peace holds, he will get a prize next year. AK had a good question. AK, if you go to Google Images, and if you Google Kabul, the women of Afghanistan, 1970s, uh, it was very different. It would look like any. I mean, if you look at the images of Cairo in the 1950s, Beirut in the 1960s, yes, these are very modernizing, westernizing cultures. So was Tehran in Iran. And then you had this backlash from the Taliban, from the Islamists in Iran and others. And so the best thing that can happen to women is that they wear a hijab, but they have access to the public sphere. They go to universities. Like in Iran, for example, Iran had women vice presidents, Iran had women bus drivers. So women got more access to the public sphere under Khomeini after wearing the chadar than they did before. But in the urban areas, in capital cities, highly educated. I mean, if you look at Muhammad Ali Jinnah's wife or Maulana Maududi's wife, these women didn't wear hijabs. They were modern women. So, so yes, these countries were, and the backlash, unfortunately, all religious backlash. I just saw a video of a Hindu nationalist threatening women who were auditioning for some program in India on X. So yes, you will see that all these religious groups will then undermine women's rights. Women have to stay at home. They can't go out and work, and they should get married. So this conservative traditional view of women uh, is always restricting women, and they are like after Donald Trump became more powerful in America, women lost their reproductive rights in the U.S. Roe versus Wade was removed after 50 years in America. So, yes, when religious groups become very powerful, women lose a lot of rights that they have gained. And in Afghanistan, it's terrible. They have lost a right to education. They can't even read books written by other women. So, yes, there has been terrible. If I was a woman and living in Afghanistan, oh my God, thank God I am not. Yes, China's economy is $19 trillion, and that's could go. Yeah, that's a good saying. No bragging on a daily basis, right? China's economy was the fastest growing economy for 30 years. It is now the second fastest after India. So, uh, Modi enjoyed the momentum that Manmohan Singh created. India grew at average 8 to 9% under Manmohan Singh from 2004 and to 2014, and it has grown on an average of 6.5 to 7.5% under Modi. So it is growing at 1% slower rate than Modi. India's manufacturing share under Modi has reduced. It used to be about 17% of GDP. It has gone down. India is growing because of the size of India, 1.4 billion people, and the world needs such big markets and the labor force, and India is providing that because of the liberalization that took place in 1991 in India as after the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the biggest credit that I would give to India's growth is not to BJP or to Congress, but to the collapse of the Soviet Union and the globalization of the economies worldwide. So India, in the last 25 years, has raised over 450 million people out of poverty, 250 under Modi and about 250 or so under Manmohan Singh and before that. And China has raised about 800 million people out of poverty. All and this has happened everywhere in Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam. Most of Asia came out of poverty. And plus, you must also see that these are countries who had just become independent, and so they were growing. But I'm not very impressed with Modi's governance because if Modi was doing well, then he would not have to use religion to win elections. He would not have to say things like, oh, if Congress comes to power, then it will steal your Mangal Sutras and give it to women. Look, for the Bihar election, now Amit Shah started today saying all kinds of horrible things about Muslims and Muslim population growth and doing the math incorrectly. I will do a show to show how Amit Shah is hate mongering. He should be in jail for using hate mongering to win election in Bihar. If Modi's government was doing such fantastic things, then all Modi has to go and say, मैंने ये किया, मैंने ये किया, मैंने ये किया, दे दो. But all he goes and says, हमने राम मंदिर बनाया, हमने बाबरी मस्जिद तोड़ डाला, हमने मुसलमानों के वक्फ के ऊपर ये कर दिया, we have gone after their uh, properties, we are destroying their homes. रोज हम उनकी दुकानें बुलडोज कर रहे हैं, रोज हम उनके घर बुलडोज कर रहे हैं. देखो हम कितना जुल्म कर रहे हैं मुसलमानों पे, प्लीज हमको वोट डालो. This is Modi's strategy. Vote for us, we are oppressing Muslims. If you are saying that, look, your children have jobs, you are much happier now than you ever were, then they will vote for them. When he can't show to people in Bihar and other places, in the 2024 election, I mean, he got 240 seats, not because of good governance. All this talk about India growing at a fast rate, only a small percentage of Indians, 10 to 15%, are benefiting. 85% of Indians across the board are not benefiting from the phenomenal growth. India's per capita is just $2,800 compared to, say, the US is $80,000, $89,000. Even if you adjust it for purchasing power parity, it comes to only $12,000. America is 7 times richer than you, and so are many other countries. India is the only country in G20 whose per capita GDP is the lowest. In fact, the second lowest is South Africa, which is 3 times richer than India. The per capita income of South Africa is over 6,000. The per capita income of Brazil is 10,000. So if you look at BRICS, Brazil is 10,000, Russia is 14,000, China is 14,000, India is less than 3,000, South Africa is over 6,000. Even in BRICS, India is the poorest country. In G20, India is the poorest country. In G7, there's no comparison at all. The poorest country in G7 is Japan at $35,000 per capita. So I don't know why people are. It's like saying that, oh, we have 3 billion thumbs. Of course, you have 3 billion thumbs because you have 1.5 billion people. So what? That's the point. So what? If you're closing your markets, you're not buying in the same volume that other people are. If India was buying stuff from a lot of people in the world because India is such a big market, then it could have pushed back immediately against Trump and say, oh, you're going to impose tariffs on us? We are going to impose tariffs on you. India has already imposed tariffs on America. It has nothing to threaten America with. And remember this, and this is a very brutal thing I'm telling, it's going to make people very upset. A lot of Hindus say this is the best time that India has had under Modi after 1,000 years of being ruled by Muslims and then Christians. Great. But why are you then leaving the country and going? Indians are going everywhere but in India, especially Gujaratis. This is Modi's Gujarat. So much of investment, so much of growth. The best state should have been Gujarat, isn't it? The people in Gujarat should have been happy as they're coming here illegally as Guspitias, spending $1 lakh to come and become an illegal American and live without dignity when they could be living in Sanatani Bharat with pride, going around killing Muslims and burning them down and stuff like that. Look, just today in Gandhinagar, over 190 Muslim shops were bulldozed in Gujarat. So yeah, in spite of all of this, look, even now when Starmer was there, India was trying to put pressure on Starmer to open more visas for Indians. Why are you guys living and going abroad? I went because I'm a Muslim. I'm afraid of what happened after Babri Masjid. Even today, when I travel to India, I'm so very careful. Imagine sitting in a train and talking to somebody and saying, "Yeah, aaj main biryani bahut zabardast khaya," now you could be beaten to death. So yeah, it's not great right now. India is far away from being the what hype Modi has created. Is there a potential? Yes. Are there brilliant people in India? Yes, hundreds of millions of people. Is the top 10% of India doing very well? Yes. I think the top 10% of India is like living in Germany or France. We are talking about 150 million people. 15 crore people are doing fantastic in India. So their lifestyle is like the lifestyle of a first world country. They are driving in foreign cars. You can see that in every major city, you will see BMWs and Mercedeses and Range Rovers. Yes, and you can see from consumptions, but these are also people who then have 7 or 8 servants in their homes who are making only less than the median income in India is 8,000 or 10,000 rupees. Half the people in India make less than 10,000 rupees per month, and half make more than 10,000 rupees. If you make 30,000 rupees a month, about $300 a month, then you are in the top 10%. This is per person. So it's not very great for the rest of the 90%. Look at the level of unemployment. I was just seeing an advertisement that there was a job opening for a constable, and 42 PhDs applied for a job as a constable, the lowest ranking police officer. What does he get? So these are the realities of India that nobody wants to face or talk about it, especially because India does not have a real media. It's completely under control of what do you call mm, the Godi media doesn't ask serious questions at all. Uh, why are Telangana people in the US? These are the ones who are coming legally. They are the ones who are tech experts who are coming through H1 visas. They are the ones who are coming here for doing masters in computer science and other engineering stuff. And they are the ones who have got jobs and they're living here legally. The illegal people are coming from Haryana, Punjab, and Gujarat. These are the donkeys. You can go and look at the data very clearly. All right, so there are no more interesting questions now. Thank you very much for watching Conversations. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, share this video with your socio-political network. And for those of you who would like to become a member of Conversations, please join the channel by pressing the button join. It's right next to the button on subscribe. I have a meeting on Sunday at 9:30 p.m. India time, 12 p.m. US time, with all the members of both my channels, my global channel and my India channel. So thank you for watching. This is a very serious issue. A trade war between the US and China is not in the interest of anybody. And it looks like we might have it, and everybody will suffer, even individuals across in all countries, unfortunately. Anyway, on that bad note, sorry, I take a break.